Hi and Assalamualaikum to Dr. Azriza. So today I will going to present case study for BIO150 with the topic that I have been choose, which is lactic acid related to muscle cramp. So my name is Muhammad ZUHAIRI bin ZAINUDDin and my metric number is 2021894186 and I'm from class AS12020D. So for the problem statement, as we do strenuous exercise, we tend to breathe heavily and our heart will beat faster. So lactic acid will build up in our muscle to produce enough oxygen. But after that, we tend to experience muscle fatigue and soreness. So how does the lactic acid causes the muscle cramp? But first, the things that we have to know, what is lactic acid? Lactic acid is an organic acid which are also known as lactate that has the chemical formula C3H6O3. Lactic acid is defined as the waste product that produced during anaerobic respiration from our body. However, in some activities like running can lead to a build-up of lactic acid in our muscle and it will causing the cramp. So what is muscle cramp? Muscle cramp is a sudden and involuntary action of one or more of your muscle. Muscle cramp can cause several pains. So let us proceed to the first question, which is where does the lactic acid comes from during vigorous exercise? So respiration happens when glucose plus oxygen yields carbon dioxide and plus water. This process occurs in many steps. The first step is glycolysis, in which the glucose breaks down into pyruvate. So glycolysis occurs during both aerobic and anaerobic respiration. So for the example, when we were exercise, our body will use oxygen to break down glucose for energy. And in some situations such as vigorous exercise, the muscle do not have adequate oxygen to complete the reaction from glucose all the way to carbon dioxide and water. Hence, a process that called lactic acid fermentation will occur. It is a type of anaerobic respiration. Fermentation is term given to the process by which a cell can produce ATP in the absence of oxygen. Even though oxygen is available at the time of exercise, the demand for energy by the muscle is very high and lactic acid fermentation is done by the body to meet this demand. This is the process which produces lactic acid. So we move to the next question. What is the difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration? So in aerobic respiration, oxygen is required, while in anaerobic respiration, oxygen was not required. In aerobic respiration, there is a slower rate of ATP production, while in anaerobic respiration, have ATP production much more rapidly. Aerobic respiration also have more efficient energy transfer than anaerobic respiration that have less efficient energy transfer. Next, aerobic respiration produce 38 mole ATP per mole of glucose used, while in anaerobic respiration produce 2 mole ATP. The aerobic respiration happen in cytoplasm and mitochondria, while the reaction occurs in glycolysis, Lee reaction, and Krebs cycle, also electron transport chain. But anaerobic respiration only happen in cytoplasm, which occur the reaction of glycolysis and fermentation. Next, aerobic respiration also occurs in eukaryote, while the anaerobic respiration occurs in eukaryote and prokaryote. So for the end product for aerobic respiration is carbon dioxide and water, while anaerobic respiration have various end product, which is lactate and water for human, ethanol and carbon dioxide for yeast, and butyl alcohol for some bacteria. So the third question is, what is final electron acceptor in aerobic respiration? So the final electron acceptor in aerobic respiration is an oxygen molecule. The detailed explanation includes the glycolysis reaction and the Krebs cycle given here. So after all of this, oxidative phosphorylation occurs in which hydrogen ions combine with oxygen to form water and electrons go through an electron transport chain. Their energy were used to form ATP. Next, oxidation of 1 mole of glucose produces 38 ATP. In the other words, if they are absent in oxygen, the flow of electron will stop that result to a pause in ATP synthesized in the mitochondrion and there are no NAD+ will be generated. Next, for the question number 4, why lactic acid form even the athlete breathe oxygen? So there are 2 reasons why lactic acid form even the athlete breathing oxygen. So the reason number 1 is increased oxygen demand. So during vigorous exercise, the body demands oxygen faster than it can be delivered to the muscle. Besides, the body has no choice but to produce energy by anaerobic means of fermentation. Oxygen is the final electron sector in the anaerobic process of respiration. In an oxygen deficit, aerobic respiration cannot be complete fast enough and the body has to switch to anaerobic respiration, which is a much faster way of producing energy. So for the reason number 2 is maintaining exercise. So during the intense exercise, the respiratory chain cannot keep up with the amount of hydrogen ion that join to form NADH and cannot regenerate NAD+ quickly enough. The production of lactate is beneficial for NAD+ regeneration as is used up in production of pyruvate from glucose, and this ensures that energy production is maintained and exercise can continue. So for the question number 5, does gender and body size affect accumulation of lactic acid? Why or why not? So for the gender, results from studies state that comparing gender difference in blood lactate accumulation are limited. Besides that, according to the sources I found that shows a woman have a lower anaerobic capacity compared to the man by 25.71% in relative values. This shows us that gender does not affect the accumulation of lactic acid. Research has shown that women process oxygen faster than men, meaning that they are able to adapt to physical activities faster than men. So, if a female is able to use oxygen to fuel their muscle quicker, they are relying less on anaerobic energy that use lactic acid. Next, for the body size. The result from studies state that body size does not affect the accumulation of lactic acid because it depends on intensity and amount of exercise complete. In addition, it also due to how fast our body absorbs the excess lactic acid that is produced. Last but not least, for the discussion. So, lactic acid accumulate in a person's muscle tissue when they are doing strenuous exercise that might end up by causing cramps toward the person. It happens when the glucose in our body cell are converted into the energy that are needed during vigorous exercise. Lactic acid level were directly related with the level of anaerobic activity. So the last one is conclusion for lactic acid related to muscle cramp. For the conclusion, it is clear to see that lactic acid does relate to the muscle cramp, which usually happen during an intense workout as our working muscle and heavy breathing require more oxygen and energy. Even though our body generates energy through the presence of oxygen, but in some cases, the energy production needs to be far quicker with an absence of oxygen, which is well known as anaerobic respiration or glycolysis. So this production of lactic acid is only temporary as a huge build-up of lactic acid plays a significant role in causing fatigue or cramps and makes the muscle sore. So this is the reference that I have used to search the details about the lactic acid and the muscle cramp. So I I think that's all from me for now. Thank you.